Yes, thank you. And thank you for the organization and the invitation here. I really like it. So I by now know that this is a super great city I miss out on. Super university. And by far, you see, I'm 10 kilos too. So I miss out on the spot of the GAA. So I'm going to learn about that. So yes, I'm going to talk about AI, but I hate talking about AI because it's heavily overhyped. Let's start with that. Also, I feel as a very odd duck in the pond because clinical trials is kind of not my forte, not my expertise, but data and AI in health is, okay? So I'll tell you a story there, and it's also my personal story because I worked 1.5 years for the Minister of Health in Belgium, setting up the Health Data Agency on secondary use of data. I have some startups and also worked 12 years in pharma, so I resonate well with your talk. So let's start. So maybe I'm going to depress you first a little bit, right? Normally I have keynotes that are longer and then I can explain this with details and people are ultimately depressed. Why? We need more workers. So in the Netherlands, for instance, there are studies that now 1 out of 6 workers are in health and we need 1 or 4 in the future. And we have mental issues and we have less workers. So issue 1. Issue 2, this is numbers from the US, but it's everywhere. In Belgium, the government is nearly falling down about it. It's the spending. We all get older, much older. There's chronic diseases. So it's not just about paying the pensions, but it's also paying for the care. And this is exploding. So we live longer lives. And a very important one, I might not touch about it, and you touch a little bit on it, it's preventive healthcare. So this is not for clinical trials, but it's really like in Belgium. So the target from the OECD is that you should spend as a country 5% of your healthcare spending on preventive care. In Belgium, we only do 1.7. So we spend too much on sick care and not health care, just to provoke you a little bit. And the other thing that was also mentioned is what I call healthcare goes retail. It's really consumerization. When we talk about tools, and you mentioned a little bit in your talk and other talks, is it has to be super easy, convenience. We're very spoiled with tools, booking travels, using your finances, it's easy. And in health, it's a mess. So digital is the new normal, and I'm going to try and explain it a little bit. But before I do, the reason why I do this is this lady. So she passed away 2 years ago, best friend of my wife, 2 kids. And just to say, she asked me, Hans, you're an expert. Help me, please. So she was diagnosed with multiple sclerosis for 14 years. And she was doing badly after her first COVID vaccination. And also she had COVID. And what I had to do, I had to look for her data to see if AI could help. And so I downloaded data. This is already an example. I had to do it manually. I don't know how this works in Ireland, but going to EPD in Belgium, this is one of the prime universities in Belgium, you had to download each file one by one. There's no metadata. It was mentioned in earlier talks. So it took me as a so-called expert, and again, in the land of the blind, Captain One is king, so I don't feel like an expert at all. But the point is, it took me a lot of time. But the cool thing, and I find it cool as a technician, it's very uncool because she passed away, is we found that the diagnosis was wrong. It was wrong. It was something else. We found trials with linking data and finding data that was something else. We even started compassionate use of a drug of J&J, which worked on the mode of action of the disease, but not for multiple sclerosis. This was data-driven decisions. We did it way too late. She passed away. But post-mortem, we saw in our data that the drug was working. And now we want to share this with other people. Data is powerful, okay? Now that said, I work a lot with patients. In fact, 2 days out in the week, I'm sitting close to patients because you need to sit close to where the action is. And I think the action should be with the patients, but it needs a lot of education and all of that. But in Belgium, at least, it's document-based. Data is everywhere. And this is just the EPD, the patient dossier in one hospital. If you're in several hospitals in Belgium, good luck. You need to download from several systems. If you want to connect us to your Apple Health, your glucose meter, good luck. All of that is not so easy. There's data everywhere, and it's heavily underused. So if you go to the physicians, this is really screenshots of an emergency physician live. He said, Hans, just follow me. The patient consent and said, Hans, go, go, go. And so this was the first screen. So it was a patient who showed up in emergency. An older guy, he had a heart infarct probably. This was the first screen. This was the second screen. This was the third screen. He had to open up all these PDFs, start reading them. There were inconsistencies. You see, it's in Dutch maybe, I don't know. And at the end, he had like 20, 30 PDFs he had to read. If you think about blood tests, if you think about longitudinal follow-up of patients, this is not reading PDFs. This is really going into the data. And so this took him 20 to 40 minutes. And typically he has even 2 PhDs working for him doing 2 hours for the more complex use cases. So you see how much time it takes for a patient, how much time it takes for a physician. And I think if we go back to clinical trials and market access studies, if you have to do this at, for instance, the Belgian or a country level or at the European level, good luck, right? So we did the analysis in Belgium and working for the government, I had the deep insights there. But typically when you set up a register, was said, right, 1.5 years. If you only have 3 months to live, good luck, right? So we need to be faster, we need to be better, and the cost is huge, okay? Now, I told you, I'm going to depress you. Let's stop that, right? I'm going to switch. Haha, the solution, AI. Well, first of all, when you start with AI, we know, first of all, is your data findable? Do you know where all your data is? Can you access your data? When you access your data, can you download it? Can you use it? Do you have an API call in technical terms? Is it interoperable? Because if I give you PDFs in Dutch, good luck. You'll have to reverse engineer it. And then is it really reusable? And these are fair data principles, which are far more important than AI in my view. It's about making data findable, accessible, interoperable, and reusable. And don't forget the Q in the center for the quality. This is where we started a new foundation. So I was lucky as a health tech entrepreneur. I've built a new foundation. And we want people, this was after some beers, so I resonate with some people. But it was to be Zen of FAQIR, Zen on your data ones and zeros. So you need transparency, you need governance, you need trust. How do you do this? It's a lot. It's a lot of technology you need. Now I'm going to go back, but for the sake of time, because I thought I had 25 minutes and 20 minutes, so I already talk fast, so I shouldn't do that because that's not good. But it was already mentioned one talk. In oncology, this is a paper. By the way, my PDF will be out. You will have all the links, so no need to take pictures. But the point is that indeed 7% was only found in clinical trials of all cancer data. 20% is not data, but we miss out on a lot of data at home. Internet of Things, wearables, sensors. So there's a lot of data. When people leave the hospital, do you follow up on therapy adherence? Do you follow up on the side effects? Do you know mental health on top of it? No, we're missing out on a lot of data. Secondly, access. We already said it, governance. I don't know how it works here in Ireland. I talked to some people. How easy is it to have your full dossier? How do you do this in Ireland? How do you connect this to your Apple Health? When you even switch from Garmin and you want to go to another tool, to Whoop, how do you do this? I'm looking at the sports people. Not easy. And then it's my data, right? This is my data. I use it all, but it's my data. So we need to shift gears. Quality. IBM Watson was a huge failure in AI because garbage in is garbage out. And we talked about biased data, right? So be aware if you only work in one hospital with Caucasian people, maybe biased. We saw it with the skin, right? Color, ethnicities. So be careful. It's not easy. Secondly, the I of FAQIR and fair data interoperability, right? It was mentioned, I was happy to see it in one of the slides, so SNOMED, OMAP, all of these things, but start to talk the same language because diseases don't end just in Ireland or in the UK language, right? If we talk about rare diseases, there's maybe 10 patients in Belgium, so I'm legally not even allowed to disclose them because I de-anonymize them. So I need more patients. I need all the patients in Ireland and all the European countries to do some reasonable stuff. So that said, I really like also this. In fact, sometimes I make a joke. In the US, they create. In China, they duplicate. And in Europe, we regulate. But the point I want to make, I really love this regulation. Because the idea is, I went to China also for several reasons. And in fact, in China, you don't have data privacy, you don't have data ownership. Fantastic for a data scientist, because if you work for the government, you have everything. Ethically correct? Let's debate. If you go to the US, why is 23andMe and other tools doing so badly? Even Google Health and Apple Health have issues. It's because there is privacy and HIPAA compliance, but the companies want to own your data. Now, health data, you don't want companies to own your data, right? And this is why I look like the European health data spaces is really about empowering the individuals. It is your data. You have now the right to ask for your data, to get your data and bring it together and link it and make it useful. So in Belgium also, I was lucky to work on the European Health Data Space legislation as a technical guy. My wife never believed I could even take 2 weeks, but I hanged in there for 1.5 years and we set up a governance, okay? Now, this is, when I talk about AI, this is what I like, right? AI is like the sexy lady and data science is the other guy. But anyhow, just when AI thrives, typically it's 5 or 10% of the work. 90% of the work goes into data curation, data annotation, getting data, getting enough data, data quality. So don't forget this, very important. Now I'm going to switch gears in my talk now and talk about how data can empower you. Because we're really doing a paradigm shift in Belgium. My dream is that there's only one clinical trial, and that's the world. And I'll talk about a little bit about that. It's a bold vision, but anyhow. So the cool thing is this, right? So what we do is we think about the European health data spaces and you as a patient owning your data, but you don't know where your data is, you cannot access it, but because you have to go to all the systems, we shift the paradigm in making, and then it was already a personal health data vault. It's like a USB stick in the cloud. And it can be from your government, you can install it yourself. It's open source, it's your data and it's secure. And then you start to collect all your data. A technical term is federated analytics. I'm not a believer. I saw it in one of the slides that they're going to build a data warehouse. Wrong. I think Denmark and Sweden are also struggling at this point because they have a data space. They put everything in a huge database, but it's a data swamp. It's not really a data lake, right? Because they can't find the data. So what we do is we connect to the data. And when you need the data, you can flow the data to the right hospital. Even with we already have 1,000 people using it. When the data is there, it is interoperable. When I have an accident here in Ireland, I can give a QR code of my pod. It's interoperable, and it instantly goes in the EPD. You have my allergies, my surgeries, my blood type, everything, all my blood tests. This is the future, okay? Now, I'm a huge fan. I'm a tech geek. So Tim Berners-Lee invented the web, and he's now working on a new protocol. This is this solid, this pod personalized database. It's like HTTP, so it's too technical, but it's really to set up your personal database, and it's really safe, okay? I made this comment already, but you know, electronic medical records is like your medical record in one hospital. Well, not enough, definitely if you travel or in different hospitals. EHR is your electronic health record. It's already from more data providers, but we still miss the 80% of personal health records, the data generated at home, definitely if you look at mental health. So we look at integrating all of that, but we have a strong focus on the right and making it fully interoperable. Now, I'm going to show you, this is not science fiction. This actually is science and is already working in Belgium. It is open source, so you can just copy me, okay? I'll show you how it works. Underneath is like our little architecture, and on the top you see like the UI. So first of all, securely you log on. I'm Hans Constandt, this is my vault. I have my MP vault, I have my USB stick. Secondly, I start to fill it in. You can do it manually. I heard RedCap. If you do a RedCap questionnaire, it's turned to the data and it's in your pod. If you need to fill in a questionnaire, people hate it. Again, my birth date. Again, my first name. Again, my weight. Come on, guys. We have that data. So if you have a data vault, this pod, you can integrate it and it's already there. So help the patients to do it better. So this is what we do, and you start to fill in your data. I'm going to go a little bit fast to at least win 2 minutes out of my 25 minutes. But you can add your conditions. By the way, you can do this manually, but this can also be done by data and AI. When I screen the 300 documents of the lady, we know what happened when, and it's already there. You don't have to do it. You can validate it as a patient, and you can validate it as a physician to have it clinically validated. You see, there's layers in data. Then we go on and we say medical schemes. So with us, you just take a QR code, you do a scan, your lot number is there, you know what's happening, and you fill in your medication scheme. And because your medication scheme is not a document from the physician or the pharmacist, it is data, it can integrate in your agenda. So you will have alert in 2 weeks. Did you take your medication? And it's just a swipe, yes, you don't have to go to a tool. And we gather the data, therapy adherence, very important. Clinical trials, probably also very important, right? To follow it up at home. So make it simple. User experience, user interface is very important. And we work only with patients, right? We don't work with tech experts and expensive consultants. We do this with patients. So you see how it moves on. In fact, this is done with Roche and with the AHVH, or the patient organization in Belgium, where in fact they can measure their incidence very quickly. So did I have a bleeding? Was it a spontaneous bleeding? This was in hematology, right? Hemophilia. So everything is measured. The pain, how warm was it? When did it go away? You do an alert after 6 hours, after 24 hours. So you have all the data. And the beautiful thing is this, right? So we do healthcare apps. I'm going to win some time now. You add sensors, but you see all your data is coming together in your data vault, your personal health data vault. We even link to some hubs here on vaccinations, because in Belgium you have a national hub, but you have to go there. It's an old school technology. You need to download the PDFs, read them. We just ingest the PDFs. We use very simple AI to really show just very easily what vaccinations did you have. Are you still vaccinated or not? We even hacked the Tropical Institute in Belgium, but we told them it's ethical hacking. We made linked data out of it. And now when you go to Rwanda, it says, this is the vaccination I need, and it's automatically connected. This is linked data at work. Next to that is important. In Belgium, it is very difficult to share all your data, because there's legal aspects that you need to be a physician to see the data. So as a physiotherapist, you're not allowed to see the data, but everybody shows it. And so what we do is, with the European Health Data Space, we provide a QR code to your therapist, to your physician. You scan it, you see it in green. They also have a data vault. And then they start to see, because I give access to my care team. The care team sees, in fact, all the information. He can click on all the patients. He has all the data gathered. And I can revoke access if I want to. If I don't trust my physician anymore, I revoke the access and I walk away. But you see, data is streaming. I have not so many minutes anymore. The last thing we do is the blue dots. This is maybe interesting for this seminar. It's really, this was primary care and helping the patient now with primary use of health data. Now I shift to secondary use of health data, right? And this is where you say, you know what? I, as a patient, and by now, 100% of our patients want to share their data, as long as it's secure and trustworthy. So they give one consent to share the data. And then you see it's kind of blue vaults, they share data. And the big vault, the big data pod we make is an aggregator, and that's like 7 questions, 8 questions. And its data is filled. So each patient that joins, the data is in there, you can use it. So we're doing this, it's like newly born registers in Belgium, feed it with live data every day. You don't have to wait 1.5 years, and patients consented. So this is pretty cool. So we connect to the Flemish data space, we connect to the Belgian health data space, and we're going to connect to the European health data spaces to really share the data across. Little nerd alert, I might skip it because I'm a tech geek, so I'm really proud of that. I have 3 software patents, but I want to say this is tech. I can talk over the questions later, but there's a lot of components. Right now in my little startup, 8 people, 1.9 million is already invested in it to make this. So don't underestimate making technology and scaling technology. It is costful, okay? Then to end, what we do is we bring all of this data together and we really bring it together with FAQIR to say, this is about trusted data flow. So you're in the controller, you take back control of your data and you gather your data, and I can stream my data as I want as a patient. So this is, by the way, done with ChatGPT, right? I said, make this lady smile. But we want patients to be happy again, have control of the data, see the data, be able to share the data when they need to. Same thing with ChatGPT, thank you. But you see, the physicians now have access, so also the researchers. And lastly, and this is maybe a separate talk I could do, but who knows Eroom's law? Look it up, please. It's very interesting for pharma. It's really Moore's law upside down. So Moore's law is that technology becomes faster and cheaper. And in fact, so technology is so fast and so cheap, but drug discovery, it's now $3.2 billion for a drug in 12 years. And when I started in Eli Lilly in 2000, it was $800,000. So why does it get more expensive while we have cheaper and faster technology? Interesting, right? Anyhow, that's another talk. Preventive care, so we have patients, they use it, they share data, it's fantastic. Takeaways, I'm truly a believer of data save lives. We already saved lives with data. We weren't able to with the lady that I know very well. Start with the patient first, not patient central. Engage the patient. Scale from day one. My question was also like that. This is not for Belgium. This is for every European, every citizen. Fair data. Make your data findable, accessible, interoperable, reusable. Then AI will thrive. Engage all stakeholders. You said it also, right? It's about collaboration. It's about the stakeholders. And maybe I'm an entrepreneur, so, I've read a lot of laws. I think I understand it, but I don't wait for legislation. I just do, and I ask for forgiveness. That's maybe also a lesson to share. I think we're too afraid and too conservative sometimes. And if you do well, they can put me in front of a judge, but I will be judged the right way. Okay? And we do this open source because I think also in technology there's too much vendor lock-ins, and we want to change that to really make it scalable beyond Europe even. So thank you for the time. Happy to take questions.